So today's video is going to be probably one of the worst experiences I had in college, which there are a couple of, but this one is probably the worst. And I got assaulted by a teacher, so that's saying a lot. So to preface this video, I had just gotten back from study abroad in Greece and this was my first semester back. I also didn't have the best relationship with my roommate at the time. She just really didn't love me as a roommate, but couldn't bring herself to tell me what bothered her so much about me. Otherwise, we probably could have figured that out pretty easily, but that'll be kind of a common theme in these videos of me at this school, is people, they preach that you should go and talk to that person because there's a whole chapter in Matthew about going to that person and talking to them, but they don't practice it. So we'll just start there. I had been randomly called to go talk to my RS, which is our resident supervisor. And when I was there, I was just like really confused because I did not know why I was there. She asked me, she's like, do you have any idea like why you might be here? And I was like, absolutely none. Like I have no idea. I've not done anything, whatever. She said, well, it's come to our attention that one of the girls said that you are camming. And I knew what camming was because I'm not an idiot. And I was like, do you know what that is? And she's like, well, I kind of Googled it and I don't really necessarily understand. But to my understanding, it entails making like porn or nude videos of some kind. And I said, okay, let me explain to you what this means then and why I'm so offended that someone would say this. Camming is a live porn experience for online viewers. So that means that in my dorm room that is smaller than the room I'm in now, that I shared with one other person, and there was no bathroom, so it was just one room with a sink, I was somehow finding time to cam in my dorm room and put on these performances, these nude performances, without my roommate ever knowing. And I was like, okay, so first of all, I would think that if it's my roommate that's saying these things, she would come and talk to me because obviously this is not happening. And she's like, well, I can't tell you who is saying this. And I was like, you can't, why? Why are they not coming and talking to me if this is a concern? Because it's not true. And you know, Matthew 5, whatever that chapter is, you know, you're supposed to come talk to them first, and if they don't listen to you, then you come with an elder of the church or whatever, and then you guys try to talk to them. And then if that doesn't work, then you get the pastor involved or whatever. So I was like, why is she not coming and talking to me? Like, I don't understand why this is your job at this point, because it's not true. It's just a rumor. I don't understand how she even came up with this. Then I was thinking, and I was like, you know, there was a time when me and my best friend were sitting in my dorm room by ourselves with our door shut, and I made a joke about tuition being so expensive that I'd have to sell my nudes for school. I was like, it was totally a joke. I was not being serious. It probably wasn't the best joke to make, but it was in the privacy of my dorm. I had my door shut, and I don't think my friend would have spread that. And she's like, well, that's not a very good joke to make. And I was like, yeah, obviously, but that doesn't warrant somebody making up a whole rumor about me making porn in my dorm. Like, that's ridiculous. So I asked her to tell me who it was so that I could go talk to them and figure out why they thought this and tell them that it wasn't true so they could stop spreading this rumor, and she wouldn't tell me who it was, and I found that very strange. I was like, shouldn't we work this out? Like, isn't that the whole point of me being here, or was it just to make me feel shitty about myself? Like, I don't know at this point. So I confronted my roommate. I was like, hey, did you know that this rumor is going around? Like, did you happen to have anything to do with it? Do you think that I'm doing something like that? And she's like, oh my god, no. Like, I have no idea. And I like recorded this whole conversation in case, like, you know, she was gonna admit it or whatever. So I recorded it to protect myself, and she was just like flabbergasted, like, oh my god, no, that's such a horrible rumor. I would never do that. We asked our neighbor Lindsay. I was like, hey, do you happen to know about this rumor? And she was like, oh my god, no, that's terrible though. Like, who would do that? So I went to my RA's work. She worked at the healthcare, like, nurse's office. And I was like, hey, this is happening. I'm sure that you know about it, but I'm trying to figure out who said this about me so that I can go and talk to them and figure out why they thought this. And she's like, well, I know, but I'm not allowed to tell you. And I just thought that was the most weird thing in the world, because we're adults. Don't you want us to work it out? Or do you just want me to feel unsafe on my floor and not know who knows about this rumor and who doesn't, and just feel like my reputation is ruined? Like, is that what you want? Because that's what's happening. They didn't really care though. So the whole rumor, I guess, from start to finish, it wasn't just that I was camming. Eventually, I found out that the rumor was that I had started camming in the summer at my own home, and then I decided to keep doing it while I was at Moody, continue doing it on campus. None of that was true, obviously. Like, if I was doing that, I probably wouldn't be in college. I'd probably be making so much more money and have a career already, so whatever. I wasn't doing that. I even went and asked my best friend who I told the joke to. I was like, hey, did you happen to think I was serious and got concerned about me or anything like that? And she's like, oh my god, no, like we were literally just joking. And she made the joke back. So I was like, you know, if she's gonna make the joke too, like she is a participant in whatever. So she's like, yeah, no, I'd never do that. I wasn't concerned about you. And if I was, I would come and talk to you like a regular adult. I was like, appreciate that, thank you. I also asked her, I was like, hey, did you happen to tell one of our other friends like Asia or Clem, like, do you think they would have maybe gotten concerned if you had shared that joke with them, even if they knew it was just a joke and, you know, went and talked to the RS? And so I asked them, and she asked one of her roommates that, you know, I mentioned, because they live together, and they were like, oh my god, no, like, that's ridiculous, we would never do that, body positivity. And I was like, okay, cool. So I don't know who it is, but I know it's not my friends who are concerned about me or anything like that, so that's good. So because of this, and because I just like didn't really feel welcome on my floor since somebody felt like they could do this to me, I started having really, really bad panic attacks and just crying all the time because I was just so wrecked about the fact that somebody would do this and say that about me. And it was just very, very upsetting. So I started smoking weed to try to manage my panic attacks because that was the only resource at the time that I could afford. I couldn't afford to go to a counseling center, and on top of that, they weren't giving me the resources that I needed to get this taken care of. So I was like telling her that I felt really depressed and that I felt like I had no friends, and she told me literally, you should go talk to your friends about that. And I was like, did you not just listen to anything that I said? Like, my friends are busy, they don't have time for this, I don't feel like I have anybody to talk to, instead of being like, hey, this is a good counseling resource for you. She just said I should go talk to my friends. Eventually, she did try to get me to set up in the counseling at the school, but the counseling at school was full, and they knew that. First of all, hire more counselors. Like, how do you not have enough counselors to serve your school? Secondly, thank you, buddy. Secondly, give me a motherfucking resource so I can go deal with my shit. Like, it's not that hard, girl. Like, you've lived in Chicago a lot longer than me. Like, you knew that there's lots of places around that could help me, but they really weren't concerned with getting me the resources that I needed to handle this in a healthy way. So I started smoking weed to try to, like, honestly just calm myself down, not have the panic attacks, and try to forget about what was going on in my life. It got bad enough, I called my parents, which I don't do that, because a lot of the time that turns into victim blaming and what did you do to deserve that and blah blah blah. So I explained the situation. I was like, just so you know, I made this joke, it was totally in private, and whoever heard it through my closed door and then started spreading this rumor. They're not helping me, they're not giving me resources, I don't know what to do, but I can't keep going to school like this. They came to Chicago and we scheduled a meeting with the head of the resident supervisors, so he was in charge of them. I didn't like him at all. He was always late to meetings, and especially this one where my parents drove 5 hours to come and get this figured out. He was over half an hour late to our meeting and didn't even really like seem that sorry. He was just like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, my life is a mess. And I was like, same, like, can we talk about me now? I don't give a shit about your life and how you can't keep it together. So in the meeting, I had to explain again what camming meant, because even though he said he understood, he kept making light of it and saying like, oh, well, it's not that big of a deal. And I was like, do you understand what camming is? And he, I think, just thought it was nude photos, and I was like, no, this is what it is. I explained it again, and he was like visibly uncomfortable every time I talked about it and said the word porn. And that was like, to me, I was like, how are you gonna be the head of RS and the residents of this whole school and you are uncomfortable when someone says porn? Like, grow up. Disgusting. He tried to kind of gaslight me and say, well, maybe she didn't mean that. Maybe she was just talking about sending inappropriate photos to boys. You know, you are on Tinder and you are dating around instead of dating at the school, which, whatever, like, that's nobody's business. And even if I was sending nude photos, people, that's also nobody's business. Like, Nobody should be upset about that. During this conversation, while I was just like so frustrated that they didn't want to help me, they weren't going to tell me who it was. I was like, can you please tell me who it was? I quoted the Bible verses at them. I was like, this is what you guys say is how we're supposed to handle these things, and I'm not getting that. I'm not getting the decency of somebody coming to me and telling me that they're concerned. You're not helping me, so I don't understand what I'm supposed to do. So this dumb motherfucker let it slip that it was somebody on my floor that had been to Greece with me. Hold up. There's only one person on my floor that went to Greece with me, and she was my fucking roommate, okay? This girl had her boyfriend in her room with the door shut, which I don't give a shit about, but that's like a big no-no in our school, in our culture, whatever. So she would do that. I would not say a single word. I was just like, you guys do you, you're adults, it's ridiculous that they have these rules. I'm not gonna be a little rat. But they ended up finding out anyway and poking their head in and saying like, hey, you know, you guys can't be in here with the door closed. And I was like, hey, just so you know, like, I did not rat you guys out. I do not give a shit what you guys do. If you guys want to be in here with the door shut, that is none of my business. I just want to let you know that I was not the one that told them. You know, because I just really don't care. Like, I don't care what you and your boyfriend do. It's not my business. Like, we're roommates, but they have a little separate area and I have my own separate area and we've got a door. Like, they're not making out in front of me. So I made sure to make it very clear that I was not the one that ratted them out, because I was like, she was doing all that, being a little shady, and then decided to make a rumor up about me when I was the one that basically protected them by not being a little snitch. So that really upset me, and I was like, how are you gonna be, you know, breaking the rules for real? And then you hear me make this joke through my closed door, and you just run with that shit and come up with a whole backstory about how I was doing it at home, and then came to Moody and kept doing it. Like, that is some twisted shit. Like, you got something going on up there and I don't know what it is. The other really interesting thing about this situation is she was going to school to be a counselor. So you would think that somebody that is literally going to school and is taking classes about boundaries and how to help people communicate and how to help people be the best version of themselves and handle their conflict in healthy ways, and she can't even manage to do that. Okay, I basically asked them, how am I supposed to move on from this? My reputation is ruined. You're not helping me. You're not telling me who it is so I can go and address this situation. And he basically said that, you know, you just need to have grace for them and have faith that the situation will work itself out. And my mom and dad are being so unhelpful. They're not advocating for me at all. I'm the only one advocating for myself. They're basically just sitting there like bumps on a log. Like, at this point, I don't even know why they came. My mom starts crying. She's like, I can just tell that you care about my daughter so much and that you just really want to take care of her heart. I'm like, how is any of this taking care of me? You're just protecting the person that made this awful rumor about me and then telling me that I just can't do anything about it. So I basically let them know, I was like, well, you let it slip that it was this person, Kelly. What do you want me to do about that now? Basically, I think what would have happened if I would have confronted her because they were trying to protect her is I would have gotten in more trouble. So I took that information that I knew and I just told the people that were involved that it was her and I'm not talking to her and I don't understand why she would do this. And I'm just gonna like leave her alone and not try to figure out why she wanted me kicked off campus. There's not really a good ending to the story. Basically, I got so depressed and just angry that I did some self-destructive things, basically. And I'll get into that in a different video and how all that went down. But it just basically started a cycle of self-destruct. I really couldn't handle it. Like, one of the tipping points that made my decision to leave Moody Bible Institute so easy, that just makes me really sad because I had been working towards my career since I was 14, and this was the school that was going to get me to that degree where I could do this full time, and I had to like give all of that up because of how badly they repeatedly handled situations like this, and I had to advocate for myself, and then it wouldn't work. So I never really got the closure that I wanted. Sometimes I still think about messaging her because she still follows me on Instagram and stuff and looks at my stuff, which is really strange. and like has commented on my things, and I'm like, don't you hate me? Like I don't understand why you're commenting on my things. Like you didn't do that terrible thing to me. Maybe she just doesn't think that I know, but hopefully she does now. The moral of the story is, if I would have done anything differently, I probably would have confronted her and been like, what the fuck? Because I ended up leaving anyway, but at the time I didn't know that I was going to leave. So I was just trying to do everything that I could to not be the problem, you know? And it was during this time that I was still really struggling with my relationship with my parents. So I just still thought that I was the problem child, and I was like, okay, well, now I'm just making problems here too. So it really reinforced that negative mindset for me that I was the problem, I was always going to be the problem, and my problems were always just going to be something that I had to deal with on my own, and nobody was going to help me. And that was really, really difficult. Thankfully, I had my friends, my roommate, she didn't really help at all, but my friends really came and supported me, and I was able to go to their rooms and like talk about what was actually going on and be straight up with them and be like, hey, yeah, I've been smoking weed a lot. I just don't know how to deal with this stuff. And they were supportive, and they loved me, and they were really the only reason that I stayed around for as long as I did, because if I didn't have them, if I didn't have that support system, I might have done something worse. I might have gone down an even worse spiral of self-harm or anything like that, because I was already kind of like on that tipping point of like scratching myself. I don't even know. I was just like felt so much pain inside of me, and I just like felt like it needed to come out, and that was how my brain, I guess, handled that. It was like, you need this pain to come out, so you're gonna self-harm. So thankfully it didn't get any worse than the scratching and stuff like that, but if I didn't have those few people that I did, it definitely could have escalated to a lot worse. So I'm very thankful for those people, and those people are still in my life, and I still keep in touch with them, so that's amazing. Stay away from fake bitches, I guess. Don't go to Christian colleges, and I guess you're not even safe to make jokes in your own dorm with your door shut. Is that the takeaway of this? I hope not. I guess the real takeaway of this is to advocate for yourself, even when nobody else is going to do that, and always do what's best for yourself. Don't stay in shitty situations because you feel like you have to, because you think you need a degree, or you think you need a diploma, or anything like that. Like, you don't. Like, I dropped out of college. I'm an online trainer now. I'm doing just fine. I'm a lot happier than I would have been staying in that toxic church environment with the misogyny and the patriarchy and everything like that. Like, I'm much happier now. Thank you so much for watching this story time. I hope that you enjoyed it. Shocking. It was devastating. It had twists and turns and But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for sticking around to hear this story. Please share your stories in the comments of a time where someone spread a nasty rumor about you and how you handled it, so that I don't feel like I'm the only person this has ever happened to. I'm sure I'm not. And until next time, peace.